Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Where the hell's everybody at? You mean nobody said anything yet in here? Oh, they're walking out on me already. Oh, come on, give me somebody. Somebody say something. You're already voting in the polls. I know you guys are here. Come on. Welcome into the show, somebody. Come on. All righty. Well, good times. All right. Well, while you guys come in slowly, we'll get to talking about some of this stuff. We're going to be separation week here in the SEC conference. You've got some big games. Hey, there's somebody, Daniel Looney. Go Bulldogs, beat them Shorehorns. My man, welcome into the show. You are first. First to speak. Get in here and talk. Here we go. Yeah, listen, it's a big game this weekend. That's one of the things we'll be talking about today. Separation Saturday in the SEC. Obviously, you got big games between number 5 in the Hall of Fame top 25, Georgia, along with going on the road to take on number 1 Texas. And yeah, what's up there, Drew? Good to see you, man. Sooner. Bishop Frank, there he is. I was wondering where you were. Wipe them feet. Absolutely. Also, Bama at Tennessee, big game there this weekend to kind of separate teams from the pack. Obviously, Bama hasn't looked really good lately either as far as, well, I mean, they were a little better offensively, defensively this past weekend against South Carolina. Ended up winning that game by a couple of points. I think it was 25-20 or 24-22 or 25-23, something like that. Close game. Got a little scare from those Gamecocks who will come into Norman this weekend to take on our Oklahoma Sooners, who have been quite anemic on offense themselves. Hopefully, we see a little difference there. Let's see. Not sure what we can do this season without offense, but changes need to be made, says Daniel Looney. Welcome into the show, sir. Listen, I don't know. It kind of to the point now where I'm getting a little – it's tough, I think it's tough and a lot of concern, and rightfully so. I think that the more that we found out about going back and looking at the game from the other day a lot, it is tough to kind of know what is the best way to make those changes. I think that I'm going to have to side with guys like Teddy and Gabe, and they're just talking about simplifying things. The sprint draw stuff that they were coming up with the other day didn't seem like it made a lot of sense. If you paid any attention to what guys like Andy Staples was saying on 3 in his column that he wrote this week, was just, the very first play that they ran out of that, all this guard pulling, tackle guard pull. It's just a lot of weird movements in the backfield that, Texas hadn't seen it. It worked on the very first play. It got consistently worse after that once they realized what was coming from it. It didn't make a lot of sense for anything that they've done in the past. So, it's one thing to beat somebody on a play they haven't seen right away, just on a one-off type of basis. But as we were kind of talking about last night on this show, everything that you do, particularly in the run game, you got to stack plays on top of each other, and it's really a situation where you're building off of certain formations and what you're trying to do. And that's what Coach Ricks and I and Coach Roybal were talking about that last night. And it's it's a situation where you have to really be looking to build off of that. Now, even, and I thought what Gabe said the other day on their show on Sunday on the Oklahoma breakdown, when he was talking about that he hates, all the everything that's running straight into the middle field, but that RPO game, the running, in the middle of the field, that's basically what they've set their run game off of and their offense off of for the past. This will be the third straight year. Everything's built off of that. What we were talking about a lot last night, and this was Coach and I after we got off the stream, and maybe we did talk about it on the stream, but something about Oklahoma hated all of the Oklahoma fans. We really got sick of seeing the jet sweep last season. Constantly seeing the jet sweep over and over and over again. And it's not so much that it was the jet sweep. In fact, it was myself and Legend that were talking about this, but the jet sweep isn't something that it's new for Oklahoma. In fact, I mean, they were using that back in 2000, on that end around play that they did. It was essentially a jet sweep. Now, the difference in what it became under Jeff Lebby and even now the few times that they've used it this season, it wasn't used as something that you build off of. And Coach Roybal talked about that a lot last year, that jet sweep is fine, but you have to add to that from week to week or even from play to play and series to series. Essentially stacking these plays on top of each other, what you're trying to do is make a lot of things look the same, but you run different things out of that. And what Lincoln Riley has always been really good at, welcome into the show, Coach Riley, right, whatever. What he's always been really good at is running plays that he knows are working. They scheme against a certain look or whatever, but they can definitely run it out of different formations, different looks of the same formation. There's lots of different stuff that he does, which is what makes his offenses dangerous. That's not really what you're seeing at Oklahoma right now. If you don't want to run that inside, RPO game or the stretch, the outside stretch zone is what they call it. You don't want to run any of that kind of stuff. And that's really what they probably should have been running. And I think it would work better in most instances. I think Texas is certainly one of those schools that's a little bit better on the edges than some of the other ones that you're going to face. But no matter what you're going to base it off of, you got to look and start there. And so a lot of things will look the same. You'll have similar motions, things like that. But you have to build off of those things and build in new plays with it or more plays off of it. When we were talking about as I'm talking about the jet sweep, the reason that it got to where it was so stale and it wasn't working was because you never ran anything else off of it. You never saw them pop a tight end straight, on a go route or a seam route up the field, right? You never saw a running back going out to the opposite side of the playway of the way the play's going, right? To where you can hit him in that, just on the little outside. It almost works as like a screen, but I mean, you're going to have a lot of open space because everybody's attacking that jet sweep guy. If you add in those kind of plays, then now the jet isn't such a ridiculous thing to put in there because they're seeing it on film and they know what it looks like. I mean, they're looking at film every week, all week, and they're keying that stuff. So you can pop different plays off of that same look. And this is what Steve Sarkisian does very well. You noticed something I've really enjoyed watching, and I only just found the show recently, but the what is it? The film guy? The film guy's his name, I think. Really like his show. You're just sitting there watching film, but he's talking about a lot of that stuff last week whenever going into the Red River game. And he was showing the way that Sark would take, if you hit a play, he would go right back to that exact same look. And you might have a different route concept come off of it. You have the route that you just hit, he was going to stick with that. But then there would be another one that would, be a different route concept that you could hit it right after that. And it worked a little bit. It worked quite a bit, actually, in the Red River in 2023 as well. That was during that time when they hit, what did he hit, 20 in a row, passes or whatever. A lot of it was underneath, but he was still moving the football. But everything, it feels like Sark has a plan with what he's doing, and Lincoln's always had a plan with what they're trying to do, of what it is that they're trying to accomplish. It's not just getting their good guy that can beat you and scheme open or whatever, which that's part of it too. But the other part is just, you're simplifying things. It's not a whole lot of differences and a whole lot of things that a quarterback has to remember, particularly a freshman quarterback. There's just not a lot of crazy things that have to happen like that. This is where I think Oklahoma is really struggling right now. I don't think they know what they want to do. And I don't think they have a goal all the way around as to what it is they're trying to accomplish. So, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think that that's the biggest problem, is that they're trying to during that 2 weeks prepare for Texas, rather than introducing something completely new. Why not work some easier stuff off of what you're already doing? Work it off of that same thing. That's where I feel like is, yeah, I think picking out what we do best is what Luttrell does worse. Ryman Lemon, welcome to the show. He says there's a reason the triple option works. You have to change the outcome from the same ran play. That's why the running back pops out to the flats on pass plays, gives multiple outs. Yes, exactly. But it's exactly it. I came from in high school, and it was actually from the time that we were in junior high on up in the program that I came up in school. We ran the spread, and everything was based off of, pretty much 4 or 5 plays in one formation, right? That's where it all started. That's your base set that you run everything out of. And everything is the same, from the footwork in the backfield for a quarterback to the reads and everything else that you're making. As you get more advanced in it, it keeps going up, but it all builds off the same thing, right? And you have the same motions, and you have a lot of the same, the snap counts are the same. It's all the same stuff. So you're wanting them to think that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, but you're really not. Yeah, and yes, Coach Leach did say that 11 total plays. Now, he would run those 11 plays out of 11 different formations. Little differences here and there, but it makes it simplified, right? You're not making these kids think about too much. You're letting them go be athletes. And I think that's where right now, I don't know that they know what they're trying to get done, right? It's just one of those deals. It's that's the toughest part, I think, right now for Oklahoma. Now, the good news is, if you just go back to the basics right now, which I hope that that's where we're headed, chances are that you could get this team back a little bit and at least get a little better from week to week. I feel like we've completely given up on this season. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I was really happy to see what Danny Stutzman had to say the other day about, hey, we're 4-2, not 2-4. And the truth is, they're not out of this thing. Now, we don't have to continue talking about what Luttrell and whether or not Luttrell and them should be the coordinators or not. Right now, that doesn't matter. He's not going to make the move. Everything that you heard out of Brent Venables in his press availability yesterday was that he's never been in a program that they made moves like that. So that's not something that he's willing to do either. And he's been in championship programs. Guys, that's just all there is to it. Lots of conference championships, 3 national championships, played for a bunch more. It's one of those deals. So it's not something that you really have to go and do. An honest QB coach, they have an honest QB coach, though, is the thing, right? They have a couple of guys that work with quarterbacks. You got JP Lossman there. You've got what's his name? The other guy, his name is escaping me right now. And I don't know that you can say, well, I guess the reason people were saying that is obviously because Seth hasn't been a quarterback coach in the past. Okay. I don't think that's – I know his title, quote, is quote-unquote quarterback coach or whatever. He's a coordinator. He's offensive coordinator, play caller is what he is. And I don't know that it's necessarily about that, but they have quarterbacks that are on staff that work with these quarterbacks too. So it's not like as if that's really the whole biggest problem. Now, do I think that they could go with somebody a little better? Sure I do. Sure I do. I would tell you that, and I don't think they got the right guys. And Coach said this last night, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and it's not something we've really thought about or talked about a whole lot. I don't think really any of the creators from Oklahoma have said too much about this, but two, co-offensive coordinators, if you got two, you don't have one. Kind of the same old thing as saying if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. I kind of would agree with some of that too. But I think that there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. And the truth is, going into last week, there was a lot of us that were very hopeful and really believed in Oklahoma's chances to win that game. Now, to be honest with you, I feel like that they could have been a little better, right? I think they could have won the game. I think if you take advantage of what your defense did in that first quarter and go put, let's say, 10 points on the board, now all of a sudden it's a different football game. Even though they scored, pretty much, what was it, a couple of minutes into the second quarter, but you're still in the lead there. Instead of going out there and a bunch of 3-and-outs in a row, and then you end up with a couple of turnovers on back-to-back possessions, both of which turned into touchdowns. I mean, next thing you know, it's 21-3. These are not situations that if a struggling offense is going to do very well with. You pretty much knew it was over by then. Yeah, the results prove your statement. The reprogresses and recognizing the defenses is very. Yes, you're right. You're right about that. Absolutely. I guess I misunderstood what you were talking about. Well, I just think that, I don't know that it's necessarily a quarterback thing as much as it is that there's not a plan. There's not a goal in mind. And look, I felt this way about Jeff Lebby as well. Now, the difference is that Jeff Lebby was able to there that was top 15 at worst in the first season, and then last year was top 5 total offense and scoring offense. So, I mean, what would this team right now give for the offense that we watched last year? Even during those times where we felt like he wasn't really seeing I had a hard time understanding his direction sometimes as well. Brandon asks us, does BV make an OC change at the end of the season? I don't think there's any doubt about it. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Mm-hmm. No doubt. No doubt. Jen James. Welcome into the show as well. Brandon, Jenna James, Goated, welcome in. My Gun Sweetness. Old Lincoln Riley, or outlaw of college football, whatever you want to call yourself today. I see you. Drew, thanks for coming in, everybody. Not too many folks in here right now, but make sure, hey, share the stream with your friends. Man, we are getting closer and closer to that 4,000 mark. I said, Steve Rollo says, I never thought I'd say I miss Jeff Lebby. Well, look, man, if you guys know me and you've watched this show for any amount of time, I've always been one of those guys that kind of took up for Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel, by the way, and thought that kind of the way that things went down last year wasn't really cool. He was very frustrating at times, though. No doubt about it. There was times that he was very frustrating. I wasn't a fan of the way he called the Kansas game. Wasn't a fan of the way he called the Okie Light game either. But it felt like a lot of that kind of stuff was good morning. Good to see you, Zias. Good to see you too, Steve. Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. Sometimes you just gotta But yes, right now we would give anything to have that production going on in this offense, right? Yeah. I mean, how many points on the board were going on in the 90s? You know? I don't know. DG did us right. Facts. You know. Right. And look, I would say that he walked and talked with class. He still only treats us with respect and love. And it felt like, well, Jeff Levy, you could tell he didn't leave happy. I think it was partly that he was happy to be getting his first head coaching job, but to not even say goodbye and say anything to Oklahoma fans tells you what he felt about what happened with Art Briles at the first of the year. I'll say this and for a long time, or as long as anybody wants to hear it, that I don't think, in fact, I'm pretty damn sure that what was said about Art Briles being down there on the field was a bunch of BS. I don't think that there was ever any kind of mandate saying that he couldn't be around the program at all. That was a reaction to fan reaction from Parker's little picture that he wanted to post up there. But DG even, and honestly, the thing about DG, and he carries himself with a lot of class. I think a lot of people were acting like there was a choice for Oklahoma on whether or not he stayed or went. I would tell you there wasn't. Either you subscribe to the thought pattern that he didn't want to compete, or maybe he was saying that he knew, or maybe they knew that Jackson was going to probably enter the portal if he didn't become the starter this year. Either way, or it was he was never coming back once Levy decided to leave. Either way, he wasn't coming back. So, plus he got a big fat lump of cash, and it's a good system and a good situation that they put him in Oregon too. And I'll be damned if he didn't hit some deep balls this weekend, huh? That just kind of adds a little insult to injury for Oklahoma. But the truth is, it was never really, I think it was decided long before. Yeah, he made it clear he was going pro. Or here's the thing. He planned to go pro. He didn't love his draft grade. But I've been hearing that he's not even the one that really broke that news to Brent Venables. It was more his mom or something like that. And I'm not going to sit here and get into that. And I know there's a lot of different things that go around. Rumors fly, particularly in small college towns like Norman. It just is what it is. But the bottom line is he wasn't coming back. He wasn't coming back. But I will forever be grateful for Dylan Gabriel. When you lose 2 5-star quarterbacks and everything that went on with Lincoln and the slimy way that he left the program, I think that we can all sit here and know that that you're in better shape without Lincoln than you were with him. At present moment, notwithstanding, by the way, when it comes to the offense, because I think the offense, it makes it hard to really think that about anything. But I would tell you that even in Brandon, you're saying, I remember the 90s, and I think the OU offense is worse now than it was then. Put some points on the board. Sometimes they did, but I remember the 90s too. They didn't always put up points and they certainly didn't, at the end of the 90s, that was their biggest problem, was that they weren't putting up any points on anybody for that matter. So, and the crazy thing is that it all it really took was Josh Heupel, Mike Leach, and that offense to change things around. And the guys were there. They had really good offensive players. They just, I don't know what it was. Sometimes it can just be about scheme, or it could just be one little thing. But again, if you're not building off of something that you're doing all the time, and you have a clear plan and a clear progression of what you're trying to do, you kept hearing Gabe talk about stacking plays. And And that was what he was talking about. It's talking about building off of one concept and turning it into a bunch of stuff, or like what Coach Leach did with 11 plays. If you look at Lincoln Riley, and I'll still tell you right now, I think that Lincoln's the best offensive guy in the country. It may not be as clear cut as it used to be, but I do believe that he's still that guy. Right there around him would definitely be a guy like Steve Sarkisian, though. Lane Kiffin. I still think Tim Beck is one of the best offensive minds in the country. You've got younger guys like G.J. Kinney. The coach at Tulane right now is another one of those guys that just kills it. There's a lot of those dudes out there. Matt Wells is another one of those guys. That's an opportunity that you had. You could have hired Matt Wells, not done the homie hiring kind of deal, which is a lot of what I think is going on here. I'd like to see us get away from let's just hire guys that played at Oklahoma to fill all these positions, right? You knew Lebby was gone after Texas, and the shit started by Parker. That wasn't charged. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, listen, man, that's his father-in-law, and his wife loves her dad. And yeah, there was some hurt feelings there. No doubt about it. If you think about the way that Lebby reacted to it the night it happened, as compared to how he acted to it on Monday when he was real apologetic and stuff, you know the difference. So it is what it is. I didn't mean to get into a lot of that stuff, but yes, there you go. Rhyme and Lemon. You got it right, though. Until you hit the porn industry part, But yes, you stack bells and whistles on top of the main act. Funny stuff, man. My gun sweetness, what do you say there? Yeah. And I'm not saying that he wasn't mutually benefited by that. But we know what kind of situation they were in without Dylan that first year. Those that you had 5 one-score losses and with a basically unbelievably bad defense. Unbelievably bad defense. Because of all the guys that they had put on the defense in the couple of years prior to that, with Alex Grinch and those guys, the best of them, they were all going to the league or leaving too. A lot of guys left in the portal. You had some young guys, Ethan and obviously Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, along with Woody Washington, the guys that are still there. But aside from them, and they weren't nearly the players that they are today, right? You know why the man wasn't charged? I can tell you, as a reporter during that time that covered a lot of that stuff, I can tell you there's a reason why he wasn't charged with anything. It's because that shit had been going on at Baylor since long before he got there. There's a lot of people that say a lot of stupid shit, like Jeff Ketchum talking about that before they played Mississippi State a few weeks ago. Lebby knew, blah, 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 stupid shit like that. The bottom line is that had nothing to do with Jeff. It had nothing to do with Art Briles, and it had nothing to do with Kendall Briles either. I'll tell you another thing. I do believe that Art didn't handle that very well. And when he tried to kind of throw Chris Peterson under the bus, that was his bad move. But I'm telling you, this was a culture that had been going on at Baylor for a long time. Why do you think? And if you are still paying attention to any of that, he just got paid big time a couple of years ago over the whole thing. They've swept it all under the rug. They keep it really quiet. There's powerful people that are in charge at Baylor. No doubt about it. Politically powerful people that are in charge of that school. Ken Starr being one of them. A lot of shit was going on at that place. It's a weird place, man. There's no two ways around it. So all I would tell you is, it's easy to sit here and blame those guys, and it you can say, well, it happened on their watch. Okay, fine. But there's certainly we'll see about that. Rhyming, maybe he could. I think it's just that stain has stayed on him, though, even though the facts are out there for anybody to go look at if you want to. In fact, I went back and dove back into the notes that I had and a lot of the stuff that was written just in the previous few years that since I stopped working on that stuff. And the bottom line is it's all there for everybody to see, yet that stain stays. It stays on Art. I don't know that he necessarily gets a chance again. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. But as long as look at the way that people in Norman reacted by seeing just that picture, right? It definitely took on a life of its own. And I find it odd that we act like Oklahoma is such a beacon for women's rights. But I digress. I don't really see that as a thing. In any event, I would tell you that while I don't put that all off on Bryles or Jeff, I also didn't care for the way that Jeff ran things, particularly in certain games, right? And I don't really love the way that he handled all that stuff either, nor the way he kind of threw some people under the bus towards the end of the season, like in the Bedlam game when he, instead of taking on the blame for calling that stupid play with Stoops there that runs the route short of the line to gain on 4th down, and then he blames it on Drake for not getting the depth that he was supposed to get. There wasn't even any other options there. He was thrown into a situation. There was one guy to cover. It was a bad play call. And you know what? Even if it wasn't, you take the damn blame there because that's what you do. You're the coach. You take responsibility. That's your job. I loved it that, BV stepped up and kind of said, no, that was his fault for calling it, That being said, it is what it is. Yes, I think that, look, they tried to hire. All I know is if it happens, it would probably happen later on down the line for our Bryles. I don't know that he's not an analyst at Mississippi State right now. If he is, they're really quiet about it, but I'm sure he's involved in some way with Jeff, helping him out. He's got to be. It's his program. I don't know. I couldn't tell you that I know anything about that, but my guess is that he's closer to the program than people may even realize, and probably should be. Here's one thing I'll tell you about Art Bryles. There's not too many guys that are better offensive minds than him, and he's won everywhere he was. He's a good coach. So I don't know. We'll see. But my thing is I think that Jeff, there were some things that he lacked, and I think that he definitely needs Art to kind of help him out and take that next step as a play caller and as a head coach for sure. Because your first head coaching job, it's a tough deal. Well, I think he was already done in. I think it was over with. I think it was over with the night that Parker snapped his little infamous photo now. I think it was over. Situational play calling. Yeah, I think aside from the Red River game, he was, and you got to give some of that to Dylan for the way that he played in it, but they were ready for that 1 minute drill. They were ready for that. So I thought he did. I think he called a really good game though. Overall, I think he really did. Loved the way that they attacked the game. Again, the way that they had Dylan, they knew that they were going to need to win the running battle. They knew that the way that they had been rushing the football and really hadn't been great up until that point, aside from Tawi, who, by the way, 8 touchdowns in 3 weeks, a little more insult to injury. Tawi Walker killing it at Wisconsin right now as the guy. But yeah, listen, I think that but what he did to have those design runs at the opportune times for Dylan Gabriel and having him be over 100 yards, it was huge. It was huge, man. really big. In fact, I think that's the only game that anybody rushed for over 200 yards on Texas last year. What's up, Benji? He's got to be helping Jeff, right? They put 31 on Georgia. Yeah. Gridiron Inside. Hey, man, what's up, my guy? Yep. See, I knew it. I knew it. See, I figured that he has to be in whatever capacity that is. I mean, it's his father-in-law. It's not that hard to pick up the damn phone or get on a Zoom call and let him walk your coaches through some certain things or whatever. You know, I think he's got to be too. Well, I think that winning the Texas game, and having a top 5 offense overall, as far as scoring offense and all that stuff, Levy was leaving. He was going to. I don't know that he would have gotten an SEC job, but he's already been offered head coaching jobs in the past. But I think that it was decided long before that he was going to be gone. It just so happened that it worked out for him pretty well because of Selman being the athletic director there at Mississippi State, already having ties to him. They'd worked together a lot on the NIL stuff whenever he was still at Oklahoma. So I think it was just a situation that kind of worked out. They good familiarity. They worked together on stuff. They were successful in getting the NIL stuff really going at OU. So, and you know, whenever you go out there and your offense puts up those kind of numbers, you know, not a ton of drop off as far as, in fact, I mean, their numbers were about the same as USC's over the past couple of years, really. Yeah. Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, when it comes to Tawi, I'll never understand that whole deal. I'll never understand that whole deal last year. It made zero sense to me why that guy wasn't your number one option from day one. He kept, you know, DeMarco kept going back to Marcus Majors for whatever reason. And really kept going back to Javonte when Javante's even told us he was hurt the whole time. So kind of a weird deal. Oh, Greg, that's so funny stuff. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that was there you go. Yeah, little shit starter. Little chit starter. Art Briles is here. Man, he's always got some shit going on. But boy. So I'm not feeding into this, okay? On the there's a couple of things I want to talk about, and then I do want to get into some other stuff because I'm kind of tired of talking about a lot of this stuff. I will tell you this. I don't think it's completely over for Oklahoma yet. I think that you do. It's just like we talked about for the weeks previous. Now, what we saw last week was not something that you easy to feel good about the offense moving forward because you saw really a regression more than anything else. But I think you can throw that shit out the door and go back to what you were doing and simplify it, and it immediately gets better. Okay. People were talking, Jen Kane, I don't know where she's at, but she was watching the video from last night and she commented quite a bit actually on that. Since then, let's see. One of the things that she said was that kind of struck me, and it's something that she said a few things, but talking about Michael Hawkins being panicked, okay? Michael didn't look panicked until he didn't have time anymore. And that was once they went into these plays that took a lot of time to progress. You know, that it took a lot of time to get in it, to make the play happen. You've got so many moving parts. Once Texas knew what that was and it looked the same and they knew that they could get through it because they're athletic enough to do so, and the offensive line is just not, Gabe said it himself, they're not super athletic. It's not that they're the biggest, strongest guys in the world, and they're also not the most athletic dudes. So movement and all this and all these new movements it was a lot to ask. Okay. But I don't look at Michael Hawkins as being afraid of anything. The guy has it's and pressure doesn't bother him. I'm telling you, go back and look at his high school film just from his last year. He was he was playing in a phone booth a lot and making things happen. Making things happen. So it's and we saw it in the first two games that he was out there. He never really got that rattled. Now, once you sped up that clock on him and he knew that these plays, I mean, listen, when your internal clock is ticking and you know they're going to be here at a certain time and it's taken too long for this play to develop, yeah, he got a little panicked, wouldn't you? I think, and what do you think would have happened with Jackson Arnold or Casey Thompson, who has two bum knees, right? So to me, I don't feel like because she was saying, Jen was saying, and I'm a fan of Jen. She's a good. I love her comments for the most part. I think this is one of those times where everybody's kind of grasping at straws as to what do we do, right? What do we do? But she's saying he was panicked and played horrible Saturday. But again, these quarterbacks aren't, I don't know if this quarterbacks aren't ready or these, whatever she's saying, they aren't being developed, and both Arnold and Hawkins look like they can't play. I disagree. I think that Hawkins didn't look good last weekend. I think there was a reason for it. I don't think you have to overthink it and think that what we saw the two previous games prior to that was just smoke and mirrors. I don't think that's the case. I think that he knew what he was doing. The timing was good for him, and he wasn't getting rattled in the face of that adversity. But whenever all these plays are not developing and you're just learning it, and you're out of time. Yeah, I mean the guy, he got sacked a bunch too. He got sacked a bunch. So I don't think he ever got comfortable, but I don't think he was gun shy per se. I think it was just the fact that there was a lot to these plays. I think it was a lot for everybody to understand, and it wasn't working, and we never went away from it. So all of a sudden you're running an entirely new group of plays, and this is what happens. I think you got to go back to the basics on it. I don't think you do anything else. You go back to the basics, what they've been doing from day one since he got there, and you simplify it and work off of the easier stuff that you know that he can do, and let him go to work, and don't hold him back. Let him throw deep balls. Maybe just add in out of that stuff simple things like, little out routes for the running backs. Slants are great for getting the ball off fast. Little seam routes and love. Shit, man. I would love to see some screens. Some of these kind of things can definitely it gets the ball out of his hands fast. You don't have to worry too much. And if the one or two reads, aren't there, you use his legs and let him go run. Plus, you can run quarterback runs, designed runs right out of it, because these are the things that they've already been doing. So it shouldn't be that hard, right? It shouldn't be that hard. But I don't think it's the end of the world. One of the other things she said that I definitely didn't know, she was talking about, this is what I would do. Bring in Arnold and Hawkins and tell them he is going to play Casey Thompson, save both of your years of eligibility, then bring a really good quarterback coach to work with both of you for the remainder of the season. We will start a national search for an accomplished offensive coordinator. Now, part of this I get. I think both quarterbacks would love that plan. Thompson has experience at quarterback and could win us some games. I don't think that part I agree with at all. I'm not hating on Casey. I'm telling you that right now, with the line that isn't overly athletic, doesn't get a ton of push, I think asking a guy with two rebuilt knees to come in and do it for you, going to be tough. And I agree with this. One deep ball per possession would work wonders. You're right. You've already hit one against Auburn, right? And it was really the only one you threw. You threw one against Texas and barely missed the guy, right? So to me, Rooster, are you working? You ought to jump in here in a minute. I'm gonna send you this link. Let's see. Shall I send it to your? I'll send it to your Twitter real quick. Staying on what we're talking about, though, I'm telling you, yes, a deep ball would be great. Because even if you don't hit it, if they know that you'll keep going back to it, because once he never went back to it the other day, and he literally never went back to it, then they're not looking for it. If the threat isn't there, what do they have to do? But I mean, they can keep those 8 dudes in the box all they want to. They can keep those 8 guys in the box all they want to. So that's, I think, simplify it up a little bit, let him go deep, and let this kid be what he is, which is a straight stud as an athlete. He throws a great ball. It's not like you're losing anything with him. And look, guys, I know that right now, yes, Jackson's being a great teammate. I'm not bad-mouthing Jackson whatsoever. I'm telling you, I don't believe for 1 second that he's staying around here. He's not. Rooster, I put that in there in your Twitter if you want to jump on. Oh, you're working today. Damn it. Friday. What about Friday? Or we could do something tomorrow, but it would probably be later. What's up, Professor? Are you working today? What are you up to? Yeah, I think that I think the ship sailed, man. That's what I was telling Coach Roybal last night. That's what I said to, I've been saying it, guys. I think that for better or worse, you made that choice. So what I said to Shawty last night, he's the one that keeps saying that they shouldn't have went to Hawkins. Now, the only thing that anybody's got to stand on is the Texas game, which again, they made some changes to the offense, but they were changes that weren't workable for what you have in him. And I don't think it would have been any more workable for Jackson either. He's less quick than what Michael Hawkins is. Less speed, less ability to get out of the way of, the pass rush. And yes, you don't mess around with that. If you look, and everything that we're seeing is that as much as he was saying great things about Jackson yesterday, and I do believe that Jackson's being a great teammate, but for a reason. Yeah, we have a 6'6" wide receiver. He's not playing though, Gridiron. And I wish he was, man. I really do. I think that I don't know what's going on there. I know he's not hurt. I know there's not anything really crazy going on, like he's in trouble or the only thing I've heard, and anybody who knows something else, please chime in. But I haven't heard anything other than he and Jackson didn't have a great rapport as far as, or a great connection on the field the few times that they tried to hook up on passes. You got to stick with Hawkins though. He's the guy, and I think he's the guy moving forward. I think could be the next really, really on the quarterback. I believe that his skill set is look, college football especially, and you're even starting to see more of it in the NFL, that the dual threat is where it's at, man. And this guy has got ridiculous speed. But not only that, he throws a much better ball than most people in college football, period. At worst, he's equal to what Jackson does. What's up there, Comanche Sooner? Good to see you. Oklahoma trying to redshirt who? Ivan? Is that who you're saying there, Mars? Okay. Why? Why? Is the question. You've got this is what you have depth for is times like these, you know? This is what those years are for. Is so that those that's why you have that depth is for years like this when you've got your top 5 guys out and most of them not coming back. Doesn't look like you're going to see Nick Anderson come back. Doesn't look. Apparently, I just read something that they're saying that Dion Burks might be at 80% in trying to play this weekend. That'd be cool. But it doesn't change the fact you need another big guy. Yeah, I don't know why they are then, Mars. I don't know why. And look, I don't know that I don't to me, and this is just me, and then I'm just going to say this. I don't understand why you would do that right now whenever nobody has stepped up and shown that they're that guy. I mean, we've seen some things out of Jacquez Petaway, but they haven't really continued with that. I really loved what we were getting out of Zion Kearney last week. Big week for him. I mean, 4 catches, 45 yards. That was cool because he's another big body guy that you want to see kind of get started. JJ Hester's had his moments, but nobody's stepped up and shown, okay, I can be that guy. So why not continue trying until you find that guy, right? To me, you got to find a way to get this guy involved. Dude, he's better than Jalen. He's better than Jalen throwing the ball for sure. Jalen's a hell of an athlete though. But and I like yeah, I mean we talked about that on in here, you know. Hey, if you want to jump in here, you're welcome to. We're going to talk about some other stuff too, but do you got time to jump in here, Marcus? Let me I'm going to throw it in there in case you can. Um Oh, dude. There it is. The link's in there if you want to hop in. Okay. Well, I don't think it's really sidearm. I think it's just that quick release. It can look that way a little bit, but the wrist flick though, and that's the sign of a good thrower that he flicks that wrist. It's not you don't have to have that full windup. He's got true arm talent. And what my deal that I like the most about him is that layered throw, right? Where he can throw it over the top of the one guy, the front defender, and in between the guy that's chasing him on the same level or whatever. He can make that throw. So see, that's what I don't understand that. Okay. At basketball practice with the wife. Heck yeah, man. That's cool. No worries. Zofix. Seems like everybody wants the offensive staff gone. If they somehow were to win out, would that same sentiment stand? Well, no. No, because the second half of this season that's coming up is tougher than the first half. No doubt about it. Even if you just, I think even if you considered Ole Miss is pretty good. Um, LSU's proven that they're very good. They're getting better on defense even, and that's with Harold Perkins out. They looked really good on defense last week, and they've looked better from week to week. So, and Nussmeier, I don't know about you guys, that was a hell of a throw that he made at the end of that game the other night. A hell of a throw. So, yeah, they're getting better. That's a good team. You got to go on the road there, and you've got a dangerous a dangerous Alabama team coming. Look, I would say South Carolina is pretty dangerous too. They're very good. It's very similar football team to what Rooster just said in here, and we will get him in here to talk about that. I think if it wasn't for Beamer being a knucklehead, they'd be a lot better. I think they'd be better with another coach. That's just me. Always seems like it's always the bad luck with those guys, right? But yeah, so if you find a way to win out, yeah, it's going to change things. But what I would tell you is that would mean that they have figured it out and gone to something that works, and all of a sudden we're calling something that makes sense. So if it's competent, then great. Yeah, well, and a lot of what happened at Allen didn't help. You can thank Chad for that. So, or not just Chad, but there was a lot of crazy shit that went on at Allen that last year that he was there. But I mean, if you look at where he was playing at Frisco Emerson, this is a brand new high school. I mean, last year was their 4th year in existence. They had their first set of seniors graduate from there. There's no way they should have probably even made the playoffs in 5A, much less get to the semifinals. And they gave Oak Hill everything they could handle. Everything they could handle. Yeah, but I think that you can. Well, and that's what is Bama having a hard time with? Playing defense, no doubt. But they have to have a competent approach, and right now we're not seeing that. That's the scary part. Is that But I don't think it's not a huge change to make. In fact, it's an easier change to make if they just make it back to what they were doing before, but add in, take some deep shots, and do some stuff that is just a little more base stuff, and allow Hawkins to be what he is, which is a really good athlete that can throw the football. Let him go do that stuff in more base packages. Let him kind of figure out the pace of the game himself. Let him go. At this point, what in the hell are you holding back for? Let them go do what they want to do. What's up there, chicken? Good to see you, my guy. Yep. Yep. South Texas. What's up, dude? Anyway. Yeah. So listen, Jalen Milroe gets going. Look, that's where they're really good, is offensively. But here's the thing, is that that this Oklahoma defense can do things that can mess with Milroe too. They can put him in some situations where he makes some bad. He had a couple of interceptions last week where he was under pressure. They're going to put pressure on him. They're going to bring pressure at him from a lot of different places too on Jalen Milroe. I'm not telling you that I think that I'm not going to sit here and predict a win in Alabama, because I'm not one of those people that thinks Alabama's trash. I'm not. Okay. I think that there are a couple of little things here or there, and getting a little confidence on the defensive side away from being very freaking good, the number one team type good, because they didn't lose a ton. They've got a bunch of young guys on that side of the ball. But I think if they went back to more of what they were used to doing with Nick Saban on the defensive side, that immediately makes them better. They're struggling learning this new offense that Kane Womack, or new defense that Kane Womack is put in, which is a lot more zones, and you got to be gap sound and all that other stuff, and it's not the same stuff. They're used to one-on-one shit. Man on man, let's go. And they've got the talent to do that stuff. If they get confident, oof, you know what I mean? But there's definitely, they've definitely got some warts, and there's places that you can exploit them. And I think that with as good as Jalen Milroe is, and he's fantastic, but if you put him in a situation where you're getting him in a blender, and he hasn't seen what they're going to bring at him, he hasn't seen it, right? You have an opportunity there. Plus, you get him at home. again, but you still got to go out there and put up some offense. You got to do it. So that's the biggest part that, is concerning. Do I think it can be done? Sure. Do I think it will? I haven't seen it yet. So we've seen little flashes here and there. But I would tell you that in God, I hate saying this, but that Texas defense was a lot better than I gave it credit for. Much better than I gave it credit for. I still don't think it was better than the Tennessee defense, but I think it was really good. And when they smell blood in the water, they're going to come get you. So everything kind of conspired in that game to not give it not be very helpful for your offense being very productive when it was that complicated, all the stuff that they had to do, that many moving parts was I don't understand it. And that's what makes you not really have a ton of trust in it, right? Yes, they would. Oh, I gotta turn that fan on. It's hot. Yes, they would. I like Milrow a lot better than people do. I think he's very, and you want to talk about a guy that you start talking about athletic. Holy shit. And he's throwing the ball a lot better than I gave him credit for on that mid-range stuff too this year. Look, offense isn't really their problem, but if you watch that South Carolina game last week, and I was watching it last night, and I'll tell you, they were getting pressure on him and he made some mistakes. He threw 2 interceptions, and both times he had guys down his neck, and he tried to make throws that, that he felt like he could fit in there, and no, wasn't good. But so you can put him in a bad position. Here's the thing about South Carolina. What I hate to think is that all of a sudden a couple of those breaks go their way that haven't gone their way in the past. What you can't afford to do is allow them to jump out ahead the way that they did, especially against LSU. But they got a lead in the game against Alabama too. It wasn't much of a lead. It was like 5 points. But the point is, they got ahead by enough that they should have won the damn game against LSU. There's no two ways around it. I don't know that your offense, you can expect this offense to go and chase anybody down from 17 down or whatever it was that they were that LSU was down to them. Absolutely. Yeah. The defense was prepared. He did, but it's hard to hit those. And here's the thing that people don't realize a lot of the time, and this is a good comment, Benji. I appreciate the comment, because they throw the timing off for somebody like that. And it's not necessarily that they take those chances because they know if they can get, no quarterback is going to throw very well when they got somebody breathing down their neck. Right? Look, that first interception, the guy was open. The guy was open. I think that was Bond, wasn't it? He threw it right over the top of. Why? Because he had a guy in his lap. This is the way this is the way that they play defense. And this is, bringing it from places you're not expecting it from. And that's after having seen it twice already. Seen his defenses twice already. So, yeah, they had an opportunity to do that. And this is what you're going to do every week. And so when he says, I feel like we have a chance to win every ball game, he's not bullshitting. They do have a chance if they can put points up, because you still got to put points up. Yeah, Saban always developed his teams throughout the season. I think that every good football team does there, Goated. Every good football program does. They get better as the year goes along. That's why I'm not counting out Georgia yet. Have they looked great this year? No. Defensively, they've struggled at times. I don't think they have that their linebackers don't seem to be the same, right? They're not that killer linebacker that seems to notice everything and be that dude, right? That's what I see. That's what I'm feeling like I see from them. They're not dominant necessarily on the D line, but they're still really good there. And I think that this is where you're going to find out how good Kirby is or how good this football team is real quick, because this is the kind of game that they'll either get healthy on or it could turn ugly, for them. Wasn't a great look allowing that many points to go to Mississippi State last week. But I got to say, their little freshman quarterback's a stud too, man. Stud. Like that guy. Jeff's got to be loving him because shaping me. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. That's exactly. I've been watching that film guy too. I love his show. It's a great show. But I mean, he was talking a lot about, and same thing, like he talks about Sark too, and about the way that he layers his plays in, and stacking the plays on top of each other. I watched his stuff going into last week where he was talking about how the way that, he hit that one big play on I think it was like a flag route basically. And he hits that one and he comes back to the exact same play, gives the same look. And they're obviously keying on the guy that he just hit and he hits the guy over the middle, and that's the way that, it's smart. But this is what they call stacking plays on top of each other. It's what you've seen Leach do. It's what you've seen Lincoln do. It's what you've seen guys that are generally considered the smart. Lane Kiffin, those guys, they get that. They know what they're doing, and they don't have these monster play sheets or playbooks like I think about Jimbo with his big ass binder of freaking plays that he still had last year. And here's Lincoln over there with an index card. But yeah, Goated, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Did it a step above? Well, I mean, he did everything. It was so detailed, right? He was so detailed. And this is what I've been talking about with Venables. I want to see that same level of detail that he has on the defensive side of the football. I want to see that moved over to the other side. What's up there, stink ass cat? Yeah. I think UJ's issue is those young guys that were role players think they were the ones responsible for the wins. That wasn't it. That wasn't there like it was in the past. Yeah, and well, look, man, when you win like that, as much as they did over that 2-year period, what did they win? 29 in a row, back-to-back championships. I mean, and there's definitely some. I would think that some of it has to do with the fact they're all getting arrested all the time. There's definitely some chinks in the armor. Now, I like Carson Beck pretty well. I don't know that. I mean, he struggled at times, but when you can bring a team back from as far behind as they were to Alabama, he's got talent. I think he's been a little off this year, right? Just a little bit. I don't know that I think he's way overrated, Stink, but I get what you're talking about. He hasn't been as good this year as he was a year ago. And honestly, that SEC championship game, I think he looked lost. And I think honestly, it may be getting in Kirby's head now at this point that it's not just Nick Saban, it's Alabama. Because he's now 1-6, 1-7? Eek. Here comes Charles. Quinn overrated. Well, I would tend to agree with that, but I've seen Quinn play pretty good at times too. He wasn't great last week, and they still beat the crap out of OU. So it is what it is. I think a lot of that had to do with, again, the dam's going to break eventually if you're not going to get anything going on offense. But, excuse me. scratchy throat. But Saban was not a player's coach. That's correct. That's exactly what I was talking about. A lot of options, same look. Heupel, Leach, Riley, Briles, Kiffin. Yep, that's what we're talking about. Reads, I mean, you can run the same play out of different looks too. You know, you just give a little bit of a different look. It makes them think it's something else. A lot of the maybe not the same motion or whatever, but they're running the same thing. It's definitely, I mean, and I think that that's when you make it better for your players, particularly young players like Lenore Sellers or Michael Hawkins, who they don't have a ton of experience yet at this level, so they haven't seen everything, and you haven't had time to build on that. What's up there, Legend? You haven't had time to build on that yet and stack on top of that yet. But if you just give them the basics of it and then run, it's a lot easier to remember 10 plays run out of a bunch of different formations than it is to, to just add a bunch of new crap with a bunch of moving parts, We don't get that. Great call. Looked lost against Kentucky. Well, Kentucky's going to bring a lot of crazy shit at you defensively too. That's a Stoops defense, man. It's a Stoops defense, which, that's kind of where you think Venables learned a lot of what he's doing from Bob Stoops. If you go back to, the guys that were around back in the day of the old ball coach when Stoops was the DC there, holy shit, man. They were very good offensively, and people really just think about that when it came to the old ball coach. Those Florida teams were disgustingly good on defense. Really, really good. And they came at you from everywhere. They used to wear Peyton Manning's ass out. Wear his ass out. And yeah, Saban he's that dude that is singularly focused on everything and wants you, and he doesn't do the rat poison stuff, any of that shit. I wouldn't tell you that I believe that Kalen DeBoer is going to stay having a tough time, though. I think he's a hell of a coach, man. He's another one of those offensive guys that knows what the hell he's doing. And there's a reason why they've gotten significantly better offensively immediately, because he's that guy. Now, what they have to do is they have to find a way to figure out what's going on that defensive side. And maybe in a year when you give them more time, but if you want to win today, this year, I think that you got to find a way to let those kids play more man-to-man. I think you have to if you're Alabama. That's just my feelings on it, because they're definitely talented enough, athletic enough to play man defense and not do so many, those crazy zones where you got to make the read, you got to be, gap sound, all that other stuff. There's so many little things that you have to do and have to see that it may just be too much for them because they're used to doing things the way they did them. And really, if you look back at what Saban's defenses are, they weren't really very complicated so much. Man defense isn't complicated shit. You just follow one guy. It's a hat on a hat, man. Really, that's the basis of it. And when you're as talented as they are, that they can press man, you might play single high safety or even two, but you still basically you're a man defense. That's easier to run than it is some of these zone packages. That think about the way that Oklahoma looked in that first year trying to learn Venables' defense. It was tough on him. Danny was struggling with it. He was always in the wrong damn gap. And Danny, even though he still led the Big 12 in tackles, he also led the Big 12 in missed assignments, guaranteed. It's one of those deals. Oh yeah, Yeah, well, shit. A little bit. I got a little scratch, and no. Yeah, Sark. He didn't get on his ass like he got on Lane's ass though. Shit, chew his ass out right on the field, like he was one of his players. uh, well, listen, uh, it happens, man. It happen. Think about Stoops, man. He used to jump on their asses too. All those offensive guys' asses. He'd be right in the middle of them on the sideline. Run the fucking football. Run the fucking football. Which is crazy that you got to tell some of these guys to do that when you had dudes like Adrian Peterson. What the fuck? They had some really good running backs back then. And DeMarco, wild. Mm, I don't know, Rooster. I disagree with this. I think that Milroe's better than he's ever been right now. First off, uh, a little more time with him. I mean, he's out of here after this year, but up until they lost that Vandy game, he was the Heisman front runner, in my opinion. And for that matter, I mean, shit, he was a finalist last year, passed for 70%, and that was with Tommy Reese's sorry ass. That was wild. But to me, I mean, Penix is a passer, right? He's not a guy that's going to run from anybody. But when you add a guy that can throw as well as Milroe can, and I think he's proven that he can hit those medium range that require a lot more accuracy. I think that when you get a guy like that can run too, and it's a whole different deal. I don't think it's an offensive problem with them at all. At all, at all. I don't. Because DeBoer's that guy, man. He really is. And they've already put to bed all that bullshit about them being able to recruit. Come on. They're fine in the South. Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying there. I get what you're saying, but I'm not sure that I completely agree. He definitely had a different skill set, which is to say he was a hell of a passer, but he wasn't a very good. He didn't do well under pressure, though. And when you can pressure Milroe and he can get out of there and still hurt you, Penix couldn't. Penix couldn't. I think we're going to find out a lot about these guys here in the next few. He's not as accurate. You know what, though? He's been passing for 70% completions, man. And he did that last year. People don't realize that that's the facts. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with not sure what's going on with Nico right now. I think he might have gotten a little shell shocked against OU. But I mean, if you go and look at his stats right, I mean, I'm not positive about him this year so far, but I know he passed for almost 70% last year. Let's look it up. All right. And Penix, whenever Penix got under pressure, he wasn't accurate either. A la Michigan game. Milroe's falling down the leaderboard in some of this stuff, it looks like. But I want to look at his percentage. Again, I still think the dual threat guy is the better guy to have at this point. If he can throw two, but you got to be able to do both, without a doubt. Okay, so he's at 72%. That's accurate, bro. Almost 73%. In fact, I wonder who. Holy shit. Mertz was at 76. Dylan Gabriel's at 76. But he's in the top 5 in the country in completion percentage. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know that Penix. I know Penix wasn't at over that, maybe around that. But and he adds that other thing that again, I don't think the issue they had last week is that they were able to set the edges. And dude, Kennard is a dude. That guy's a dude. Yeah. Oh, the old blackjack. My liver died yesterday. That's funny shit. Let's see. What is let me see what Nico's at completion percentage. He's at 65.7. Not terrible. Not up there with the I mean, but that's still what does that make him? He's like 42nd in the country in completion percentage. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not what's up at the top. That Williams kid from UNLV, 77. I think that was it. That was just for a few games, and Graham Mertz is now out too. So 76 and 77%. But Dylan Gabriel's killing it. Probably leading for the Heisman at this point, if you're not going to give it to a running back, which they generally don't. Yeah. A lot of physicality, man. I think so. I think that both of them, yeah, came out a little definitely tired and probably a little shell shocked. A little bit. Certainly, we've seen over the last couple of weeks with Tennessee, though, that they were certainly not letting their foot off the gas, like they said. Yeah. Yeah. Drinking your own bathwater there, Sooner Legend. That shit makes us cringe every time you say that one. Mm-hmm. I think so too. To war in the trenches. It was, man, and that's where I definitely could say that I was incorrect about Texas. They're a lot better in there on the defensive side too. So that's the concern that you have. I think that's another concern you have with the offense is the fact that yeah, they're more healthy, but I don't know that they're a lot better. And you're about to go up against, and I think that's why I'm worried about South Carolina because with that Kennard kid, holy shit. That guy's a dog. And what has he got? Like, I think 9 sacks or no, 7.5 sacks on the season or whatever it is. He's been really good. Yeah, like Hogan's GOAT. A little bit. Again, I think that they just got to simplify things. Go back to the basic stuff that they're used to, the plays that they know, and simplify it. Give them some stuff to build off there. Stack your plays there on what you already do. Even plays that haven't necessarily yielded a lot of yardage, go back to it and run off of that. Build your offense for the rest of the season off of the basic shit. Just do that. That's all you got to do. SC has a good defense. Yes, they do. Man, they're good. And not just the one guy, but the Kennard dude is a stud, but they're good they're good across and they're pretty deep, actually. They're pretty deep. That's what I've liked. I've been watching them for the last few days. And it concerns you a little bit. Particularly with the way they're playing, you know. You going to this game? You going to this game this weekend there, Benji? Be at the Georgia game? That'd be fun. To a tailgate anyway at DKR? That'd be cool. Look, I think you can bounce back. I think that if we know anything about Shane Beamer, it's that he's going to give you opportunities to kick his ass, and then act weird about it at the end. Plus, you're at home. There's no excuses. And this was the last time that they haven't lost back to back home games in shit a long time. I think it was back when the last time was what it was probably Baylor K State back when Bryles was still there. Shit, what are they going for, Benji? What are they going for? Probably pretty pricey, huh? Wild. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of these games. What is it going to take for? I think that let's talk about that game a little bit. UGA Texas. This is a big game. This is probably the biggest game for Texas, particularly at DKR and shit a long time. When's it? $490 for nosebleeds. Yeah. Is there a bad seat in the house though? I don't think there is, really. Right? They've redone the stadium a bunch. Shit, their facilities at Texas are insanity. But that's still a lot though. That's still a lot. But the tailgate, I almost like tailgating as much or more. I don't know that I'll go back to until they've updated the Cotton Bowl significantly. I don't know that I'll be back for the Red River game. I've been to it 5 times already, and it's gotten worse every time. And then you fucking ran out of water in the second quarter this past game. Unbelievable. Somebody asked me if there were still crickets in the men's restroom. I couldn't tell you. I was so dehydrated, I didn't ever have to take a piss. Couldn't tell you. But the lower bowl, yeah, I get it, man. I get it. I'll tell you though, in the Cotton Bowl, actually though, in order to get to my seats from where I was, which was, real close, but I had to go up to the top and walk around because you couldn't walk around that. It's insane trying to get around there. Insane. Only the third top 5 matchup in DKR ever. Previous was 06 Ohio State. Okay. Wow. And then before that, 1970, huh? Holy shit. That's insane. So essentially, it's probably the biggest game at home ever. Maybe ever. That's pretty badass. So I think that you got to have a better game out of Quinn this week. Can't afford to, because you're going to get some offense out of them, right? They are doing upgrades to the combo. I get that, but the one thing they can't do is widen like hallways, or they definitely should add the Wi-Fi stuff and some of the other amenities. But water would be great. Better concessions, things like that. It's just the way that they funnel you in, they've got to fix that shit too, because it's unbelievably crazy. Unbelievably crazy. Texas favored by 3.5. Yeah, I think if you go back a couple of weeks, it was the opposite. But and again, I don't know, because I don't know how much. Oklahoma had a chance to like challenge, but they didn't. And so how tested is Texas? I don't know. We know that Georgia has been in some, no pun intended, dogfights though. They've been in some games that the Kentucky game with that defense doing what it did. That was a pain in the ass for them. This last week, it was a dogfight. They've had to find a way to win these games, and doing it on the road. So it's definitely, I think it's a big test for Texas. And I don't know that Texas doesn't win it, but I would tell you that I got to see them do it though. I got to see them do it. I got to see them do it before I really believe. They do have to update it. It's to the point now that it's well, and Big Mike was talking about it the other morning whenever I had him on, and he was saying, that picture that he showed, and actually he sent me that yesterday. But turning around when you get into that front area where it says Cotton Bowl, and he got up on that finally on that level there and turned back around. And this picture, it's insane, dude. Just flat out watch. I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna put it on the computer real quick. Share that real quick. I mean, and it was like this all the way through the damn stadium. But I mean, I literally got to my seat about 3 minutes before the kick, and I left the car about an hour and a half before that. Well, it was about half a mile that I walked. That's too much, bro. And at 95 degrees, to hell with that. This one dude thought I was about to pass out. He was like, "Bro, you're sweating like crazy. You're a little pale. You had enough water in you?" I'm all right, dude. Don't worry. He was dude was a little worried about me though. It was hot though, dude. It was crazy. Here, watch. Let me share that screen real quick for you guys that didn't see this the other day. This is Mike Bogue took this picture. And it was like this from that area there all the way into the stadium and all the way to your damn seat. It was that way. I literally went up to the top of the stadium to walk around easier to get to the section that I was supposed to be in. And then had to go all the way down. Nuts. Just insane. Just insane. You've seen people fall out in Norman well, yeah. I mean, the humidity will kill you. But this is hell of a lot of it was probably, I mean, it was 95-ish degrees, but I was dehydrated as all hell, man. But all that body heat will help you with that too. Look how tight everybody is. And it was like that for the entire way. Entire way. Big Rob, not hearing that here. Don't even know who you are, but we're not hearing that here. Take that shit elsewhere. Yeah, I got a little chilly here. But yeah, that was a wild picture, man. It still blows me away that it was like that. And like I said, it seems like it's gotten progressively worse. Because the last one I went to was the Caleb Williams game, so Lincoln's last year, and it was a struggle getting in there that day too. And honestly, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It tough area. I don't know why they're so stuck on not on the Cotton Bowl, right? I don't know why they're so stuck on the Cotton Bowl because it's a shithole. Just don't get it. Yeah, I'd actually pounded a lot of water going in because I knew it was going to be like that, you know. But then they ran out of water. They literally ran out of water at the stadium. You couldn't get any in the second quarter. Unbelievable. And if you're not on that other side of the stadium, I was on, we were sitting behind the Texas bench, which is what that's where they had I guess that's why they probably do that for a reason, but that's where Oklahoma's player parents were sitting behind the Texas bench and vice versa for the Texas one. So kind of different, but yeah, they if you're on that side, the sun was on you the whole way, right? Jerry World is soulless. Yeah, Jerry World is damn nice, bro. I mean, I'm not even a Cowboy fan. I'm going to tell you that's a nice stadium. There's nothing wrong with Jerry World. And after going through this the last 2 times that I went to the Cotton Bowl, I'll take Jerry World all damn day. And I don't mind doing the home and home either, but I think that there's something different. And I get it that it's the tradition part of it. I'm not trying to kill tradition here. But damn it, man, at this point of our lives, when you got stadiums that the stadiums that they have, you got to do better. You got to do better. Fix this thing and go deeper than just adding Wi-Fi and shit to it. You need to fix a lot of things about the Cotton Bowl because it's a very cool. Once you get in there, it's awesome. You know what I mean? It's very cool tradition and just the feeling that you get being in there and the way that it's set up where you've got half the stadium orange and half the stadium crimson. That's badass. Still, no matter what, I'm telling you, man, if you've been to games anywhere else, even the home stadiums they're unbelievable good, right? They're about to do some more stuff to the Palace and they're going to make it even better. And I know they just did all that stuff to DKR. I haven't been since they remodeled there too, but some of these places are insane. Insane. I know how much they get paid to play. That's why they're there. But that's the thing. As much as they're getting paid, fix the fucking stadium. Make it easier to get to. You got to do it. Make sure you got water for everybody, all those 100,000 folks that you got in there. You know what I mean? Come on. Yeah. It's not a home field I don't think it's really a home field for anybody at the Cotton Bowl either, but it's a neutral site. It's a true neutral site. Oh, good. They're doubling the size of the main concourse. Okay, good. So that should help with that bottleneck that's going on because that's what's tough about it, man. It took forever to get in there. I mean, crazy stuff, man. I wouldn't care about it moving to Jerry World. Look, I don't mind I like air conditioning, and it's still, the one thing about I loved it that they moved it to the, that 2:30 window, right? The only thing about that is that's the hottest part of the day, from then to like 5:00, shit, which is when the game's going. That's the hot time of the day, the time. So, and you're not going to go to a night game there. We know why. It's pretty shady over there. Little sketch, even just being like a half a mile away from the gate, that gate that I went into. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be going back there at night. I prefer the Cotton Bowl over home and home. Yeah. Palace is a great stadium, man. That's the first few times I went to the Palace, it was still that old ugly bastard, Looked like they were playing on freaking cement. They pretty much were. That's cool. Yeah, I've been hearing about that too. They have some premium seating. It's luxury essentially is what they're getting at. And I think they're doing more like right now they have that it's kind of what you're seeing at a lot of these indoor arenas, like basketball arenas and stuff, where they have places where you can like have a party. There's not a ton of seats there. It's just kind of like a bar or something, where they kind of party like that. I think you're going to see more of that kind of stuff in the future. And they have a lot of that kind of stuff at Jerry World too, by the way. A lot of that kind of shit like that, and which is super cool, I think. Yeah. Golden's got it. Golden's got it. All right, guys, we're gonna do a couple things here, but all right. So let's talk about some of these other games that they got going on this weekend. This is kind of separation week for the SEC, I think, more than anything else. I think you've got some other really good games going on around the country. Obviously, the all eyes are on Austin for this game between Georgia and Texas.
I think Georgia wins a close one. Maybe no more than 10. I would say I think I predicted 10 last night. I don't know what I really think about it. I think it's going to be a really, really good football game. I have been to DKR, their legend. It's I've covered games there before. And yeah, it's a great place. I haven't been there since they updated it, but it's a great stadium. But yeah, so big game there. I would also tell you that I think let's see which other ones that they have up there. I had it up a minute ago. Thought I did. Oh, you know what else I wanted to? Let me pop this up there real quick. I've been meaning to drop this. I don't know if I dropped this in the Discord or not, but as much of the enough voters this week as what we're used to getting. I'd like to see us getting more, but this week's edition of the Hall of Fame Top 25 poll. Obviously, you have Texas at number 1, Oregon coming in at number 2. Texas getting 12 of the 14 votes that we got this week. Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, LSU jumping into the top 10 after their win over Ole Miss. Clemson's in the top 10. Tennessee stayed in the top 10 just barely. Iowa State's right there on their heels as well, along with BYU, Notre Dame, who, by the way, since they had that little loss, they've looked a lot better. A&M staying now in the top 15. I think they were in our top 15 last week as well, though. Boise State hopped up to number 15. K-State after their win over CU. What a game that was, though, the other night, too. I think K-State got away with a interference call towards the end of the game, but that was a good football game, and they lost Jimmy Horn and Travis Hunter in that game as well. But I told you guys, man, Shador is that dude. He's been playing very well, very well. But a good football game. I still like K-State a lot too. Indiana coming in at number 18. They're still undefeated, which is wild to me. Got a really good offense themselves. Ole Miss drops to number 19. Missouri, I think they're still in because didn't they have a bye week last week? Or maybe they played another crappy team or something. LSU at Arkansas at night. That's going to be a great game this week. That's another one of those games I really look forward to this weekend. Well, loving it that Army and Navy have jumped into our top 25 as well. I don't know if they're in the AP. I know Army is for sure. I'm not positive about Navy. Illinois, I don't know what I think about Illinois. But Iowa somehow jumped back in as well. They're number 25. Oklahoma dropped out. Vanderbilt was just probably one vote away. Well, or one top 20-ish vote away from getting into that top 25 as well. They're getting close, man. And that was to me, that was a big step for Vanderbilt to not just that they beat Alabama, because look, I don't think they would beat Alabama if you played them another 100 times, probably. But to back that, go on the road and win like that against a really good defense like they have at Kentucky was a big win. So good for Vandy, man. I'm fan of Tim Beck, fan of Diego Pavia. Good football game. This week, though, talking about this week, let's go and look at the schedule again. Okay. So here's an upset alert, man. Auburn at Mizzou. I think that very well could knock Mizzou out of the top 25. I don't know that they win this game. This seems like one of those games that they find a way to lose. I don't know. Of course, Auburn has to keep themselves from turning the ball over so much. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about South Carolina, Oklahoma. Alabama, Tennessee is going to be a fun one as well. This is where I'm talking about separation Saturday. This is a big game for both of those teams to kind of separate themselves or stay in the race for the playoff. I think that if you're Tennessee, you probably need to win this damn football game, right? Sooner Cowboys, are you trying to get kicked? You just, dude, I can't deal with you, man. Stop. I voted Vandy in for sure. Mizzou played UMass. Yes. So basically it was an off week, right? Yeah. LSU, Arkansas tonight could be a tough game for LSU. I think it is a tough game for LSU, even if they don't get Taylor Green back. That freshman's looked really good. I think it's a good football team. But yeah, look, yeah, they dropped out of the top 25. They did get votes. So let me do that. They ended up with 6 votes. So, and I don't know that they're necessarily not a top 25 team. With the way they played offense, if they don't get better on offense, I can't put them in the top 25. But if I see them get a little better offensively, I think defensively they can play with anybody. They can be in every game. I believe that. But yeah. Anyway, I do think look, guys, all you guys that are members and are not voting, why aren't you? Get in there and make sure I send it out to the emails if you voted already. We had some of the guys were other creators and stuff that I didn't get to vote and stuff, but I'd love to see us get at least like 30 votes. That'd be cool. And I think that, at this point of the year, we should know who's the best teams in the country. We're halfway through the season. Let's make sure that we're getting this poll going. Love to see a few more of these folks get in here and vote, though. I'm not going to call anybody out by name, but we missed some votes by some creators that have voted, but they've been sparse voting. Anyway, going back to this, yeah, A&M at Mississippi State. I think this Alabama-Tennessee game is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to get rowdy there. Could turn into a shootout. Man, I don't know. I think Alabama finds a way to win it, though, and I think that Tennessee probably needs to win it. I don't know that they recover if they don't. I kind of look down the stretch. What are they looking at down the stretch? Their schedule. Honestly, though, so they've got Georgia still on the road November 16th. That'll be a tough one. Look, man, that's why you have to win one of these games, it feels like, because I think if they go to 3 losses, they don't get into the playoff. That's what I feel like. They got Kentucky and Mississippi State coming up the next 2 weeks before the Georgia game. Then they've got UTEP and Vanderbilt to close it out. And Vanderbilt is no longer a guaranteed win for anybody. So I would say that I feel like you need to find a way to win, and you probably need to get Nico going. But I don't know that I don't trust and believe in them winning it. I mean, they struggled with Florida. It was an overtime game, and they struggled. So they can only afford probably one more loss, though. That's why I'm thinking it's kind of that separation week for sure in the SEC. All right, going back to that, we were just looking at Arkansas LSU. Yeah, I love that game. It's at Arkansas, nighttime on the road. Going to be a fun game there as well. Vanderbilt kind of has a week off playing Ball State. As we talked about that Georgia-Texas game, that's going to be a lot of fun. 5:30 on ABC. Got your, game day will be there. A lot of fun. Kentucky, Florida. Could this be the week that Billy gets the axe? I don't know. Probably not. It almost feels like maybe they don't fire him at this point, which I think would piss a lot of Florida fans off, right? I think it would piss a lot of Florida fans off. What it do, Shouty? He said, how about them Cowboys? What does that mean? You don't have 5 minutes to vote, Ryman Lemon? You're right. You haven't voted. No, you're going to vote. Damn you. It's 5 minutes, bro. Come on. Hey, why are you being so negative there, legend? Why are you being so negative right now? All right. Guys, we've been going for almost 2 hours now. The last thing we'll close out with this. Let's talk about that Oregon game one more time, Oregon, Ohio State. What are your feelings? I want to get your feelings. You just tell me what you think. What is it that you think is going on? Do you think it's is Ryan Day's criticism that he's getting for a 1-point loss on the road in a tough environment at Oregon, a good football team, by the way, undefeated football team? Do you think that's fair criticism? I mean, again, tough place to play. I do get that he's 2-6 in top 5 games all time. 3 straight losses to Michigan. That probably doesn't help him. But I mean, do you fire this guy? Do you fire this guy if he doesn't win the Natty? Because it almost feels like that's where they're headed on this. Hey, listen, man. I'll go flying with you anytime. Is that what you're talking about? Taking me out or taking me out? What you mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think his clock management's great. I mean, here's the thing. His wins are what are his wins? He beat Clemson in 2020 in the semifinals of the CFP. Lost to Clemson the year before that, 2019. Obviously, the 3 straight to Michigan. I don't know if they were top 5 on all 3 of those, but they certainly they had to have been though because they ended up in the playoff. But anyway, then obviously the in 2020 after they beat Clemson, they lost to Alabama in the national championship game. They lost the Georgia semifinal game a couple of years ago. So I think their only wins are that Clemson one, and then they beat Notre Dame one year. Yeah, in 2022 they beat Notre Dame, and they probably shouldn't have. Notre Dame has all 11 guys on the field. As coach said, if they put a dead guy in, they get in the end zone and win that game. So 2-6, but could be as bad as 1-7. Look, part of me says that he's still putting you in positions to be in those games a lot. If he was really a shitty coach, they'd probably have fallen off the map, right? But I'm not sure that I would fire him at this point. I don't think you can. That's hilarious. Texas has a chance to take control of the conference with a win. If not, UGA will roll the rest of the season. I think UGA needs this win more than Texas does, though. Because I don't think they've looked great. They're shoddy. So I think they need it. Yeah. Don't listen to Trammell. Legend. Oh. It happens. They happen. How many playoff games, BCS games that he stopped being Big Game Bob long before he left. I mean, let's just be real. I love me some Bob Stoops, but that was his early nickname. It didn't apply really at the end. LSU over Arkansas by 10, says Shawty. Okay. Would you be firing Ryan Day if they don't win the Natty this year, Shawty? You tired of that sandwich? All right. All right, man. We're off of this. Guys, I appreciate everybody coming in. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got to get into work a little earlier today. I've got some writing stuff I got to get done. Have I ever been in a small plane? A few times, yeah. Yep. Not afraid of it. Love it. Love flying. In fact, I've been thinking about getting my pilot's license, so. It's always been something I've wanted to do. I can sit in your lap, Benji says, Ryman Lemon. That's a little weird there, Benji. Just a little weird. All right, gentlemen. I appreciate everybody coming in. We will be back here for sure on Friday. If not sooner, we're going to work with I'm going to see about getting Stat Guy or Rooster to do a preview show on South Carolina. Maybe both of them for that matter. With me and Legend, and we'll kind of see how that goes. But you don't have the right equipment. Appreciate you guys coming in. Yeah, no doubt, man. I always enjoy coming in with you guys and talking a little bit ball. We've had a little over 300 viewers so far today. Make sure you smash that like button. We've only got about 29 likes, so jump in there, hit that like button on your way out. Share us with your friends, guys. We are only a little ways away. We are now at 339.73, 27 subscribers away from 4,000. Share us with your friends. It would be great. It would definitely be great. But yeah, appreciate everybody coming in, and we will see you all on the next one.